requires ambition. The ambition to drive progress, to take action. As the only Canadian bank devoted exclusively to entrepreneurs, we set ideas in motion and give businesses the means to innovate, to dream big, to do things differently, to thrive. Today's challenges are unprecedented. Our role is to lay down solid foundations that enable entrepreneurs to face them with confidence. By sharing their vision, we spur their development. At BDC, we're committed to opening doors. Together, we overcome the obstacles on their path. Because when entrepreneurs succeed, their achievements pave the way toward a better tomorrow.
I'm delighted to be here on behalf of BDC, but I'm more delighted that BDC was chosen as the main sponsor for this great event. And my name is Miguel Barrieras. I'm the Community Banking and Impact Officer for BDC, and I'm here with a few colleagues that we will have a chance to get to know, and we're, like I said, delighted to be at this important event. The first thing I would like to do is recognize Shannon and Elaine and their team for the work they do and the important mandate that they have through the umbrella organization of NACCA, who oversee more than 50 Indigenous financial institutions across the land. You know, you have done a remarkable work for more than 35 years now. You have provided 3.3 billion loans over those years to some 53,000 businesses across Canada. That has made a true difference in the respective communities of those businesses. At BDC, we recently launched in November what we refer to community banking as a new business line. It's a business line where it's truly to accentuate our development bank role, and it is one where our goal is to reach and be much more relevant in the marketplace by working with and through organizations that help underserved entrepreneurs across Canada. We aim to increase the number of entrepreneurs that we reach in Canada by some 100,000 over the next 10 years. And the key is underrepresented entrepreneurs are having a very big challenge in getting access to financing, but also to get the support and the wraparound services to make sure their endeavor can be highly successful. Together, we could help to increase the number of SME by 10% in this country, and this would have a real impact on the communities we all serve in Canada. But to achieve that, we believe we can only do this through trusted partners who are present in their respective community, have the trust of the people on the ground, understand their needs, and can support them to what they do. And BDC, in turn, wants to be a great partner to those organizations such as NACCA so that they can be the best version of themselves and then support the maximum number of entrepreneurs in their respective community. We know that alone we cannot do it. That's why we cherish relationships like the one we have with NACCA, which has been for many, many years. And I was talking about wanted to fully play our development role. One of the real joy moment of BDC was when there was the creation of the Indigenous Growth Fund. It was launched under the leadership of NACCA, and it was the newest and largest Indigenous social impact fund, a first of its kind in Canada. It represents an innovative evergreen fund model and a new vehicle investment that would directly contribute to the economic reconciliation across Canada. It was a really proud moment for BDC. We were delighted to be the lead investor and represent the Government of Canada and to work in partnership with our Crown Corporation, FCC, and EDC to launch the new fund. The first investment was closed in 2021 and now has $153 million in fund to provide to IFI across Canada. And this is to enable those community and enable these entrepreneurs throughout the Canada to receive the capital they need so they can scale up and have the same equal chance and access to financing, which we all know is very challenging. And these businesses are at the heart and soul of your community. There's no such thing as a thriving community without a thriving business community. And the role that you play, IFI, in your respective community is pivotal to ensure the prosperity of your nations. And for us, our collaboration with NACCA is at the heart of community banking mandate. And I'm happy to just put in perspective some of the numbers. You may have seen those, but I think they're worth mentioning. You know, since the launch of IGF, they have supported close to 400 loans worth almost $100 million made by the IFI across Canada. Just for 2024, that number was 59 million, so the fund is accelerating its deployment, and it helped some 234 businesses. More, it created, about an impact on GDP of 215 million thanks to those loans. It generated labor income of some $126 million. And it almost supported 3,000 jobs across Canada in various communities. So I think that in itself talks about the impact of the IGF and I was talking about development bank role that we play together. But more than that, there's also a study that was conducted by the conference board in collaboration with the team at IGF that also looked at not only the financial impact, okay, it's almost done, but the non-financial impact. Just to give you a few things on how these loans made by IGF had a multiplier impact in the community they serve. And these are important numbers. It was about 475 people moved from food insecurity to high level of food security thanks to those loans since the creation of IGF. Close to 450 people who went from having a poor overall health status to a good or an excellent one. 300 and close to 360 people who went from having a poor health status, like I said, to a good one. And about 420 people who moved from poor housing sustainability to being satisfied or very satisfied with their housing off reserve, something that changed people's life and their family. And I think that's why the IGF exists, and that's why it makes a real difference. So I want to congratulate them on that. But one of the challenges we have in Canada is that we have currently 1.3 million businesses. 500,000 of those entrepreneurs are expecting to retire over the next 5 to 7 years. More than that, of those 500,000, about 100,000 of them are just planning to wind down their business. If you think that Canada's economy, the GDP of Canada depends, 53% of which depends on SMEs, more so than any other country around the world. And therefore, we need to ignite. But one of the issues is that we create today in Canada, through the cycle, 100,000 less businesses than we used to 20 years ago. We used to be 30 million people. We are now 40 million. We need to ignite the creation of entrepreneurship. And there is, some silver lining. One of the fastest growing segment of entrepreneur are Indigenous entrepreneur. And, they account today for about 1.9% of all entrepreneur in Canada, but their number is growing fast and it is expected to grow by 25% over the next decade. This is more than double the pace that we see from non-Indigenous businesses. The share of Indigenous entrepreneurs is anticipated to reach about 2.3%, but yet that's too low. It does not represent yet the full representation of Indigenous people. And it's a young population, one who is also growing their level of education. It is important that we help them, continue their growth and the economic reconciliation we do. Just to put in perspective, sometimes, Caucasian people say, oh, why that matters? It matters a great deal. Today, the Indigenous entrepreneur, all combined, the economic contribution to Canada of Indigenous represent more than the GDP of PEI and New Brunswick together. So that is a significant contribution to Canada's economy. And if we can together fill the large gap that still exists between Indigenous and non-Indigenous entrepreneur, we will make a big difference. In fact, a study from BDC demonstrates that if we do, we will increase the GDP of Canada by 1.5%. In these challenging times and the tension we live in, it is important that we continue supporting Indigenous across the country. And our goal at BDC is to continue working side by side with NACCA to provide you with even more support, more financing, and more advisory together with and through NACCA so that you can have even more access and have more of your economic reconciliation happening in each of your respective communities across the country. On that note, I want again to wish you a really good conference. You're going to hear about many people, and we're delighted to be here contributing to the success of NACCA, and let's ignite the next generation of entrepreneurs thanks to your hard work across the country. Thank you.